Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us. My name is Kathy Leggett. I'm the Future Ready Iowa Policy Advisor at Iowa Workforce Development. Before we get started, I do want to introduce another colleague who is actually the point person for questions on this grant. So Allison, if you can just unmute or show us your video too, if you're prepared to do that, but just introduce yourself, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am Allison Hanrahan and the Grants Program Coordinator for Iowa Workforce Development. I see some familiar names already on the webinar call, so hopefully we can help address any questions that you might have regarding this funding opportunity.
Thank you, Allison. Okay, I assume that many of you have been with us before. As these coronavirus relief fund opportunities have been coming out rapidly, as we all know. So some of this will be familiar to you that I go over at the beginning, but nevertheless, a good review. I did also want to do a little clarification, and I don't know if you would call it a clarification or whatnot, but just to let people know, as you have seen, even with the first Coronavirus Relief Employer Innovation Fund, these come out, they're quick turnaround and they're quick spend. And I just need to let people know, when you're looking at the entirety of this, we had the Employer Innovation Fund, the Registered Apprenticeship Incentive Funds, and now that we have this Earn and Learn, I just want to let you know that there is no strategy. It's not like we had time or opportunity to make a strategy. We just, with everything else with coronavirus, we are dealing with things as they change daily. And when opportunities come up, we're getting them out and we're doing the best we can. So I just wanted to let you folks know that in terms of different funding amounts and different requirements and things that again, it wasn't a sit back and this is how it's going to go. It's us trying to adapt with everything that happens and with the information and the opportunities that come up and trying to get them out to you as soon as possible. So again, thanks for engaging and thanks for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. There we go. Okay. So typical to one of my presentations, I do talk a little bit rapidly sometimes. So just feel free to put a question in, and we're using the chat, correct, Molly?
Yes.
Chat. If you have questions, I'm going to go through this and Allison's going to add in anything at any point, and then we will have time for questions. And so if you would use the chat, that would be great. And then we'll try and answer as many as we can, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So again, our goals for today, really brief summary about unemployment and Future Ready Iowa. Overview about the Coronavirus Relief Fund Earn and Learn grant, which is the one that we are talking about now. And we'll talk about resources and technical assistance available, and then get to questions. So here we go, as many of you seen before, but just a reminder, Future Ready Iowa is an initiative, and everything we were working on before coronavirus hit was in the perspective of a low unemployment, 2.7%. At that time, which was very low. So we were still focused on removing barriers and making training opportunities available to folks. And then coronavirus hit and we went up to a very high unemployment rate. And as we have seen, and you're well aware, it's coming back down, which is great, but we still have a lot of folks who are unemployed, and we have a lot of folks whose employment has been very severely affected by the coronavirus. So we're still looking to make opportunities available to those folks. Here is just a slide about the top 5 industries that had submitted claims for unemployment, just so you can see kind of where a lot of those job affected folks are coming from. Quick show, and then just a quick Future Ready Iowa reminder that the goal of Future Ready Iowa is that 70% of Iowans have education and training beyond high school by 2025. This is an initiative, and so it involves all entities, all state departments, all efforts across the whole state, grassroots and larger, and we have different strategies that we work through, but this is related because this coronavirus relief funding allows us an opportunity to hopefully, again, get some short-term training to individuals, provide them some supports to address barriers, and all of that not only goes towards the 70% goal, which we're trying to get, which is great, but also really just to help folks who really have had some struggles and devastation from this coronavirus and related to employment, and give them an opportunity to get into those, fill those jobs that we really need. So just a thought about that. And then again, I always say, why Future Ready Iowa? And I like to give a couple of reasons, because by 2025, 68% of the jobs in Iowa will require training beyond high school. And we have this huge skills gap in Iowa, where we have the jobs that require education and training up to an associate's degree. So it could be an apprenticeship card, a diploma, a two-year associate's degree, any type of thing in there. We have about 53% of our jobs that require that, and only about 34% of our workforce that has that. So we're really trying to make efforts to close that gap. And lastly, but not last entirely, but last of the three that I offer right now, is that employers continually answer survey from Iowa Workforce Development that says that above 50% generally in the surveys have applicants for their jobs, but their applicants don't have the skills they need. So we're working really hard to integrate education, workforce, economic development so that we can address these issues in Iowa and more. So where are we right now? We're at 60.2%. So we're making good progress, but we've got still got opportunity. And so then here we'll go into the Coronavirus Relief Earn and Learn Grant. So I've just put, and these slides will be posted on our website and in iowagrants.gov after this presentation. So you'll be able to access them if there's information on there that you would like to get. So this is a grant opportunity to support the creation and expansion of short-term earn and learn training programs, resulting in industry recognized credentials. So focused on short-term industry recognized credentials, always a focus on high demand jobs. So those are kind of key pieces of this. And then the other piece is, that's what it's focused on. The other piece is that this is a grant opportunity where we want to expand opportunities for Iowans whose unemployment has been affected or eliminated because of the coronavirus pandemic. So two things, short-term training, earn and learn, which we'll get to some definitions, and then has to be focused on making opportunities available to Iowans whose employment has been affected. So who are the eligible applicants for this grant? We have nonprofits, adult training providers, including but not limited to post-secondary education institutions and unions, small businesses that employ less than 50 employees. And then I want to put in, we just released this morning an amendment to, and I said addendum, sorry, that's wrong. It's an amendment to the current notice of funding, because in addition to the eligible parties that I just stated, also eligible are Iowa secondary schools and high schools, and secondary schools and high schools to the extent they meet the other factors. And then also previously it had stated that previous awardees of the Coronavirus Employer Innovation Fund and the Coronavirus Registered Apprenticeship Incentive Fund could not apply, and that has been amended. So if you have received one of those or both of those, you are able to apply, but what you'll see under here under number 1 is entities that have received previous awards are eligible to apply, but in no case shall cumulative awards exceed $250,000. So if you want to make an award or an application, your application would need to be limited to would subtract what you have already been awarded, and then the difference between that and 250,000 is what you could apply for. So please note those amendments, and hopefully that's helpful to a number of organizations. And then otherwise, I think, the other one thing that I wanted to note is a date change, which I think we'll talk about in just a moment. We did extend it 1 day because we just got that amendment information out this morning. So we'll go from there. But anyway, that's whose app can apply. Eligible expenses. This slide states those. And again, you want to pay particular attention. When you're doing a budget sheet for the grant, if there's something on there that isn't here, if there's something listed on the budget sheet, that doesn't mean that you can automatically include that in your budget. You've got to go by what this piece in the notice of funding says. So purchase of equipment, tools, simulators, related training, instruction materials, updated curriculum, tuition, books, wraparound services to support participants during the grant period. And that could include internet access, childcare, transportation, stipends, and other things like that. So those are the eligible expenses. But again, you have to remember that the money has to be spent by December 31st. So important dates to go over. The grant is open now in iowagrants.gov, and it will close Tuesday, October 27th at 11:59 p.m. Awards will be made by November 2nd, the next Monday, 2020. The funds have to be spent by December 31st, and participants must be enrolled by February 28th in the Earn and Learn for short-term credentials program that you're submitting. I put this note in here just to let people know that the intent of this, obviously, as I said before, what the intent is to help the individual Iowans with who have been affected by coronavirus with education and training to lead them to good employment opportunities. But also, we're hoping to train. We need to make this accessible to as many people as possible in this short period of time. So please keep that in mind as well, because that's the goal is how many people can we help get accelerated training so that they can get into a good job opportunity. So I just wanted to point that out and say, keep that in mind. How much money is available for this opportunity is approximately $4 million. Again, as with everything else, this money comes from the Federal CARES Act. So that is why we have short timeline and specific things that we have to follow. You will receive, if you are granted an award, you then can, once documents are signed, you can request the money at that point. So money would come up front to you because we want to get it to you as soon as possible to get it spent. Then you are responsible for getting receipts turned in prior to the date stated to demonstrate that you have spent those funds in accordance with your approved budget and the money went to the appropriate things. And so that will be one of your reporting follow-ups if you are awarded. So here are some definitions. All of the information that I'm sharing with you is in our notice of funding full document, which is on the website. I'll show you later, our Future Ready Iowa website, and it's also in iowagrants.gov. So Earn and Learn program for these purposes is defined as a training program that is an employer-driven model combining on-the-job learning with related classroom instruction that results in an industry-recognized credential and allows the participant to earn a paycheck beginning and throughout the training period. This does not have to be a registered apprenticeship Earn and Learn model. The registered apprenticeships that are approved through the Department of Labor is a great model, and we love that model. But we know we have some other models out there that are awesome as well, that are Earn and Learn. And so we want to be able to support these type of options as well. I think it's key to note that participants it's Earn and Learn. So participants earn a paycheck while they are getting the training opportunity. Here, as normal, you'll see in the NOFO, the high demand job and outcome, what a small business is and what a participant is. So I just wanted to put those up there for you, and they are in our notice. So next, where do I apply? Iowa Grants, www.iowagrants.gov is where you apply. Register. If you have not been in that system before, you have to do you fill out a little registration form and you have to get approved. Then you will get a password to get into the system. So I can't urge you enough to do that. If you think you're going to apply for this grant, go in today if possible and register in iowagrants.gov. It will take a little time to get that password notification, but please do it sooner rather than later. I know that sometimes people wait till kind of the last minute because they think they're just going to be able to go in and attach a document to it, but this is an actual online grant. So you have to go in and you have to fill out and type in certain pieces of that grant. So please don't wait to do that. If you go in and you decide, and you even start one and you decide you're not going to apply, that's not a problem. You will also see in there are character limits, so you have to be concise with your information. And so please go in as soon as possible. And then here's the website where you can actually, if you haven't gone in or you don't want to go into iowagrants.gov first and you just want to see all the information, the notice of funding, the frequently asked questions, the grant guidance, all of that you can find on this website, futurereadyiowa.gov, earn, learn, grants. So places for you to get the information you need. This is a picture. So when you go to that website, if you're looking for the information, you will be able to see this is what it looks like. And if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see listed all of those different pieces of information. And that's where you'll see that this PowerPoint presentation later to refer to. Okay, so on the information, whether you're accessing this in iowagrants.gov or whether you are on our webpage looking just to look through this information, everything is here. The notice of funding full is going to contain all of these appendixes except for Appendix E. So that's a long document. It has all of these. If you're looking for something particular, I just want to let you know that Appendix A is your basic grant guidance. This is something that you want to have setting by you when you're going through the application on iowagrants.gov, because it will guide you through what you need to do to put in information you need to put in. The frequently asked questions is just that. And so I would encourage you to look at frequently asked questions if you're working on something, just to see if we've already answered a question that you have there first. In addition to those frequently asked questions, we will put a document on our the same website and in iowagrants.gov that has additional frequently asked questions that are coming in today, tomorrow. As we get them answered, we will post them in both places. So again, if you're not sure if you're like, oh, I have this question, I would just encourage you to look at the frequently asked questions first, and then certainly submit if you want. We want to answer all your questions, but just sometimes it's already answered in something else, and that might save you just a little bit of time. Appendix C is the scoring rubric. I'll show you a picture of that. This is also something you want to pay a lot of attention to, because this is how the grants are scored based on what's in this rubric. So if you don't have some information in your grant that's in this rubric, that can affect your score. So definitely want to look at that. If you have never gone into iowagrants.gov and you want directions as to how to do that, that's Appendix D. And Appendix E is a budget spreadsheet. And this needs to be attached to your application. This is an Excel spreadsheet, and it needs to be attached to your application when you submit. Okay, this is just to show you what Appendix A looks like. So you can kind of feel familiar with it. This is what the scoring rubric will look like. So it will tell you the different sections and what we're looking for as far as for points to be awarded. That's Appendix C, as I talked about. Here's a picture of Appendix E. This is what it will look like. This is the spreadsheet for the budget. And again, participant support costs, where it says that contractual, there may be examples in there. But what you need to put, that's not necessarily everything that's in the grant. It's just a general spreadsheet. So please follow the guidance in the grant that says what are eligible expenses that you can get funded through this grant. And then this is what it looks like. Here's what the application or the Appendix D looks like. But this is also when you go to register in iowagrants.gov. This is what you'll see. And then you'll see that you're going to, if you've never been in there, you're going to go through new user registration. They'll ask you some questions. It's fairly intuitive, I think, but definitely Appendix D has all the directions if you would like something to follow as you're doing that. And then once you get in, I just show these pictures to give you an idea. This is, as you can see, this says Iowa Employer Innovation Fund because this was a different one, but it looks the same. As you go in, I just want to have you have some familiarity to what you'll see when you go into iowagrants.gov if you have not done that before. There's information like this that talks about the funding opportunity. And then what I want to point out in this is in iowagrants.gov, you can see the red circled. That is ask a question. And so we really encourage you when you're working on your application, if you have questions, to click that button and ask your question. Those will go directly to Allison, and then she can get started on trying to get an answer. So, so please use that. It doesn't mean you can't contact us and ask us a question, but just want to make you aware that that function is there. And for that
Kathy,
Yes,
If you don't mind, go back one
please.
slide and I'll just
Yes.
comment quick. I've had several potential applicants contact me in the last 48 hours with questions. And what I do, if you email me a question and I have not gotten back to you, there's a good chance that your question has been posted through this site and the answer has been posted here. So again, we really encourage you to get used to using Iowa Grants as a one-stop shop resource of all the application materials, the application itself, and a chance to have a chance to ask questions and receive responses, because a lot of the questions I've received would be beneficial for all potential applicants to learn as they're going through this as well. So I just want to make sure, if you've not heard back from me, I can try and reach back out to you through email with a response, but chances are your response has been posted here.
Great, thank you so much, Allison. The other thing I want to share when we're talking about questions and answers is, depending on the question, it may take a little time for us to get an answer. It depends on the question. We may have to go with our legal department to get a clarification, and then there may be follow-up on that. So please know we are trying to answer your questions in as timely a process as possible. Okay, and then here is where you'll see in iowagrants.gov, where you'll see general information. These are all the application forms. So you would click on each one and fill out it'll prompt you for the information you need to fill out. So just showing this to you also, so you can see it and see what that looks like and have a little familiarity with it. So just some key points before we wrap this part up. Is to register in iowagrants.gov. If you haven't, do it as soon as possible, as I indicated. Because your applications have to be submitted through iowagrants.gov. We cannot accept applications that are not submitted through iowagrants.gov. So just make sure you get in there and check it out. Just another key point is to utilize that notice of funding, the grant guidance, Appendix A, the scoring rubric, Appendix C, to guide you. Because what it'll say in some of the sections in iowagrants.gov, it will say, like, for example, if we're asking for certain information, it will say see Appendix A, because Appendix A will lay out exactly the pieces of information we need in that section. So make sure you have that side by side and you've looked at that to know what you need to put in there. Additional is that we will, as Allison and I just talked about, the question and answers will be posted in iowagrants.gov and also on the website. So you can continue to check on additional ones, or if you submitted one, see hopefully your answer is there. Check these locations prior to submitting your question. Let's see, got that. And I already went through those things. May take time, so we're good to go. So I think at this point we are ready to answer questions from anyone who has them. As we go through this, I am quite sure there will be some questions that we cannot answer or we may need to clarify. And what we'll do is we'll keep those questions, get our answers as soon as possible, and we will post them in those two locations that I indicated. So that kind of will be our process. And on what I'll ask Allison to pipe in here too on any answers that that she can help with for this. So I think we're ready to go here. I think I'll ready? Yes. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to start reading questions and then we'll do our best to answer them. So is the actual cost of training an allowable expense? Yes. Yes, it is. It just has to, you have to be able to expend it before December 31st. So in some instances, you may have to be able to get a little bit creative. We have 2 locations in Iowa. In total, we have more than 50 employees, but one location has less than 50. Would that location be eligible? The answer is yes. There are, you know, many entities in Iowa that as a total have many more employees than 50, but that individual location can do its own proposal to train individuals at that location. Let's see, our awards for employer innovation 3 fund grants awarded considered a coronavirus relief grant? Should this amount be,
Grant 3 of last year's.
yeah, should the amount awarded be considered against? No, the answer is no. Those were original employer innovation fund grants. And yes, there were 3 rounds. The last one was awarded the beginning of January in 2020. Those are those were state appropriated funds through Future Ready Iowa. So that is not the same as this. The ones you have to consider if you're applying for this are the Coronavirus Relief Employer Education Fund or Innovation Fund, the Coronavirus Relief Registered Apprenticeship Incentive Funds. There were 2 of those grants that just were awarded yesterday. Those are the ones that you have to consider the amounts if you're going to apply for this one and you've already received those. Can the grant cover the students' pay while they attend training? Yeah, no, sorry. The answer to that is no. Payroll cannot be covered in this grant, wages. That's just part of an earn and learn model. However, stipends can be awarded. A stipend is not payroll. A stipend is amount of money to support like, barriers, so that could be something, but payroll itself is not something that's covered in this grant opportunity. The concept is that we will pay the attendees while they are learning new skills. Can we use the Future Ready Iowa funds to pay tuition? Yes, again, as long as you can make an arrangement and get that tuition paid before the end of the year. Let me make sure I understand. Can this be utilized towards the pay during the training time? No, again, not wages during training time. Stipends, and so you can think about how you can use that. But so a stipend is typically like, maybe they can use it for transportation, childcare, other things that it's just kind of that type of fund, that it's not based on a wage per hour type of thing. Let's see, if the trainee is a small business owner and running the business during the training, does that count as earn and learn? I think yes. Yeah, I mean, yes, I'm going to say yes. For earn and learn, can we use funds to pay for the school training and later hire the individual? When do we need to hire the employee? And they will have to have a W-2 employees be, so no, earn and learn is they are employed and you are paying them. So you cannot like have them get trained first and then start paying them. If we are a long-term care facility, could you give examples of how we could use this funding? If not, do you have resources that could refer me to give me a better picture? Okay, let me think about that a second. You might have people working there who would like an opportunity to get a CNA certificate, or maybe you need them to get the certified medical when they can give medication, or the CMA, I don't know all the technical terms, but so you have people for whom you've hired, let's say recently, who you hired because they were affected by coronavirus, and maybe they're entry level, and then there's a training program that you can make available to them with these funds, and they're employed by you now. So that's what I can give for an example right now. Is paid work experience a requirement for this grant? It is a part of the grant. So because it's an earn and learn, so people are being paid on the job while they're giving an opportunity to learn and get a credential, hopefully an industry recognized credential. For nonprofits, do they need to be a 501c3? Allison, I got this question before, and honestly, I can't remember the answer. So I might need to clarify that. I feel like there's a definition of nonprofit, and it isn't just a 501c3. So I'm going to say, refer to the question and answers that get posted, because it won't take us long to get that answer. Would a small cleaning business with 2 employees count as small business? I I think it could. I also, so you'd have to be paying the two of you while you're obtaining a higher level of education for in that instance, I believe. So what type of employer involvement is required? Well, it's defined as an employer, kind of an employer-based or an employer-led education opportunity. So I think partnership in, like if you're a nonprofit, if you aren't the employer, because some nonprofits could be the employer and they could be getting training for people who are working there who have been affected. Otherwise, you would want to partner with an employer, because you might have folks who, and if you have a partnership with an employer who's willing to hire entry level or whatever they're looking for, why you work together to support the individuals getting their training, that would be an example. Because yes, on the job training, that's the earn and learn. So you're getting experience while you're getting your education. Do the participants have to be 18 years old? Okay, so that's a great question. I did ask this of our legal department yesterday, I think, and the question, and because high schools and secondary education programs are open to apply for this grant, the answer is 14. I have to get some clarification on the second part. So that's one that look for us to post, because I don't know how to answer that right off the top of my head. So that one we'll get an answer as soon as possible. Any other questions? Oh, yes, we do. Okay. Has this ever been done before? You know what? This has not been done before, specifically like this. But what I can do, there are, and unfortunately, I don't know near enough off the top of my head, but there are successful earn and learn models of education and training happening in several places across the state. And some refer to them as apprenticeships. They're just not registered apprenticeships, because that's an earn and learn model. So I don't have any examples specifically that were funded right off the top of my head. But what I could do is gather a little information and post a couple examples under this question. So I will do that. The one I can think of quickly off the top of my head is a project that I believe was in the Cedar Rapids area. And I wish I could remember the company, and I'm not going to remember. It's a large retailer. And they were hiring individuals, Iowans from the refugee community, and they were training them. They were working on the job, and then they were training them so that they could learn the English they needed to and the skills they needed to do the jobs, I believe, in their warehouse. And this was and so it wasn't a registered Department of Labor apprenticeship opportunity, but it was an earn and learn model. So from the time they started, they were getting paid, and then they had an opportunity once they did the on-the-job training and the education, they were able to then move into a permanent position in whatever area they were trained for. So I will get a few examples to the best of my ability and post those. Okay. Where would the answers be posted in the ask a question area? Allison, can you answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I have the ability to share my screen, and if that would be helpful at all.
You should be able to.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and share quick. It says cannot share screen while other participant is sharing, Kathy. So, but I do have it up and ready.
I think I stopped.
Okay, there we go. So I will share my screen really fast. Hopefully everyone can see this. We've already had, it will look like I'm the one asking and answering the question if it's been emailed to me. But these are the questions and then the answers already. So when you click on, I believe, let me show you kind of what it would look like if you're coming into this as a new potential applicant, one way to get to this is to look at the funding opportunity page. And then if you scroll all the way down to the very bottom, all of our question and answers will be posted kind of on this main page. And what's nice about this is you actually don't have to be logged in to Iowa Grants to see this information. You can just be on the main. I can show everyone that one more time. I'll slow down because I know I kind of go quickly. Kathy and I have obviously had our coffee today. So we're going to click on grant opportunities in the state of Iowa. And then we are going to search for just the one we're looking for, Coronavirus Relief Fund Earn and Learn Grant. And then this is everything that you would need here in this one-stop shop. So you can log in or register here. If you haven't done that, that's kind of a shortcut to the login and registration page. My information's here. We've updated this based on the amendment that came out this morning. So all this information should be updated. And then again, if you scroll way down to the bottom, all the question and answers are posted here. I know it's a little small as far as what to look at, but you could copy this into a Word document if you were really trying to look at a specific question and answer. This would be available to you here.
Allison, can you scroll up just a little bit
Sure.
to the attachments so that you can,
Yeah.
I want everybody, because sometimes I think this is an easily missed thing, is that this is where you can see all of those appendices that I mentioned in the slide presentation, and they're all here as well as on our website. And also you should be able to see Appendix E, which is the spreadsheet. So that's a place you can access it as well. So I just wanted to point that out since you have that up there and it's easy to show. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to stop sharing unless any participants I am not watching the chat to see if there's questions about this.
I think you could just leave it and
Okay.
we'll run through them. How about that?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so I'm going to go back. Now we're on question 17. Would training for additive manufacturing apply? We have employees on a worker share program. Okay, that I don't know how to answer that for sure. So I'm going to have to get some information back on that one. So thanks for asking, and we'll get an answer as soon as possible. I'm not familiar with receiving grant money. Do we withhold taxes or are grants non-taxed monies? I don't know the answer to that. It's a good question. I don't feel like you do taxes, but don't quote me on that because I have zero frame of reference for that. It's probably just the way I'd like it to be. So just let me get back to you guys on that one too, and we'll post it. On the budget, there is a requirement to spend all the funds by 12/21, but courses can be, yes. Can you clarify? Yes, the way you have stated that is correct. Because this is from the Federal CARES Act, these are the dates that are set forth in that, for those federal funds. So yep, the money has to be spent by 12/31. So what I encourage is partnership and working together and creativity to see if you can prepay for things that are going to go past that December 31st. And I think we definitely have other awardees that have done that. So work with your training providers and your other partners to see how you can make that work. Is this grant workable for current high school students as a way to prepare them for the workforce? Yes. However, it has to be an earn and learn model, and you have to be connecting with students whose employment has in some way been affected by the coronavirus. Now, it's pretty broad. There are some, I think we have stated in some of the questions and answers, the list of what qualifies as that. Yeah, thank you, Allison. She's kind of moving that on the board. So, and this is from the federal government as to say, what qualifies for that. So yes, with those meeting those restrictions. Does this have to be for new employees only, or it can be used for training existing employees? I would say it can be used for training existing employees, but the same thing is in play. There needs to have been an impact on their employment because of the coronavirus. If I wanted to become a temporary proctor to administer, is that allowed? I have no idea. So that's one I'm going to have to, good question. I will have to get back to and get that posted. Can I use this as an in-home childcare provider to further my training in the childcare field? I think if you meet the eligible, the definition of the eligible applicants in the notice of funding, then there's nothing that says you can't make an application. So, but I'll get a little more information on that. But I mean, I think the initial thing is at least to make an application, you just have to meet one of those qualifications. So, and then
just to make, I don't know if this helps with this at all, or maybe it just leads to more questions, but in that situation, would the applicant also need to ensure that they are a qualified eligible participant?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Is it available for high school students, but target audience may be more like displaced workers? Is it available? Yeah, our target audience is not only displaced, but yes, it is people affected by the coronavirus, but we are well aware that we have students who are also working, who work as part to support their family, who work part-time, who have been, whose jobs have been affected by this virus as well. So, so yeah, I mean, the answer is yes. And I think that there are students that fall into that category also. Do stipends meet earn while you learn? I believe the answer to that is no. But if you can mark that, Molly, I'll do just a definite check on that one too, because as I said, a stipend is not a paycheck. And I believe the earn and learn definition says that wages have to be paid. So I will get some clarification on that. We have an employee who's in the process of training to be an intern. Can the employer be reimbursed for tuition we have already paid? No. The answer to that is no, unfortunately. You have to make a budget and propose, and then that, if your award is approved, then that's what you're approved to use. So good question. Can you give me an example of how the funds could be used in a child care center? Okay, best example thought I can give you is, so a child care center, I think that maybe, I know a lot of child care centers have lost employees because of coronavirus. So you might be needing to hire more people, and maybe you look through, like you partner with an Iowa Works office or with a nonprofit that has people who've been affected by coronavirus, and you work with them to see, is there a pool of individuals who need to find jobs, but they may need training in childcare, that type of thing. So then you bring them on as an employee and offer the training at the same time as an earn and learn model, so they're getting hands-on and education that they need. The fund could be used to pay for that training that they need, and it could be used to help them with childcare while they're doing that, or transportation to get to your location, or that type of thing. So that's an example that I can provide. How do you recommend work supports be allocated for supports occurring after December 31st? And that's kind of back to the same question of like the tuition. It's you have to just be creative with it. If it's you have to pre-purchase things, so you get your program together, you estimate the number of people that you think you can serve, and you purchase those type of supports before that date, before December 31st. That's the best way. And I think some examples in previous ones have been, if they're providing transportation, they've purchased like gas cards ahead of time for people to use for that transportation support. But you have to work your model and estimate the number of people so that you can prepay is the best advice I can give you. If this is used as a construction trades, could it be used partly to purchase the property to work on? That I don't know. So I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. Thanks for asking. Yes, can childcare centers use this funding? Hopefully I answered that already. If the funds are utilized for additional training equipment in our apprenticeship program, do we need to hire additional apprentices prior to 228? Yes, you have to get at least one additional coronavirus affected person enrolled in that before 228. We're a new child care center. How would the best way for us? We need employees, but also want to train people to be able to go to other local centers to get employed. I think that might be a collaborative effort. So if you can, maybe you collaborate with, and these, you guys have to know, these are just like, I'm trying to brainstorm to give you examples. This is the best of my ability. But I think that that's that's maybe the way I would look at it, is partner with some other centers and then together, implement a earn and learn model. I can probably try and get some more information on that to you if you want to reach out to me. So could we partner with multiple agencies? Yes, absolutely. We love partnerships. We love collaborations because honestly, in some instances, this just makes the best program. We have a lot of great community-based organizations and nonprofits that do great jobs supporting people who have barriers or in challenging situations. And if you can pair that with an employer who's looking for folks, and that way they get somebody who can support these individuals and they get a new employment and training opportunity. So yes, absolutely. Partnership is a great thing. And in your application, you'll want to indicate if your plan is to partner, like who are those agencies and that type of information and what would their role be. Can you use the money to pay a company to train people in your company? Yes, that would be an expense that you could use. Does the training have to be 100% complete? No, they need to be enrolled and underway. And yes, I think I would say yes with an expected, because as it's defined is 5 months or less. So yes, that seems reasonable. In other words, if you have industrial machinery such as laser mill, CNC, can you use the funds to train more employees how to use them? Yes, you can, but you need to get the connection to coronavirus in there. So how have those employees' employment been affected by coronavirus? The other thing I want to say on this is this is an opportunity to be thinking about if you need to be able to do more social distancing in training in these type of models, or if you need to be able to do more virtual training in these type of models, this is a place to be able to do that as well with equipment and things, try and get the stuff that allows you to do that safely in your setting or virtually. So I just want to add that in. When you say individuals have to be affected, does this mean specifically that they have to have lost their job, or could be an instance like their husband has lost their job? That again, I'll refer to on the screen here, Allison has, yep, she's just highlighted. So if you go into iowagrants.gov or if you go onto our website and, just probably in a couple hours, we'll have those listed too. These are and here, individual has become a breadwinner or major support a household because household, not has died, or has had to quit their job as a direct result. So I think there's that will explain it in there, but I think, let's see, yes, it looks like it could be a family type of thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Allison. I feel like that's the way.
No, I would imagine that would be considered a eligible participant.
Yeah, so good, thank you. Can an employer that applied for the most recent grant and only got a small amount, can they reapply and roll those originally requested funds into a second grant with an earn and learn? Yes. yes, you just can't request funding for what you got approved for in the previous grant.
And it can't be more than 200.
And it cannot, yeah, you cannot have totally, between the coronavirus grants that we have processed through, you cannot receive any amount over 250,000. How am I defining the difference between a stipend and a wage? I think Allison will get from legal a definition of stipend. So we'll put that in the questions and answers, so that will help. But a stipend cannot be, you can't like use it instead of a wage. You can't say, you can't figure out $15 per hour towards 40 hours. So you're going to get a stipend of this much money instead of being paid. A wage is paid through payroll. And so that's, and a stipend is kind of, you know, here's in the way we would look at it is, this is a stipend to address barriers like childcare, other expenses that you may need to have support for, why you get through this training. But we'll get a definition up there. Can I use these to be a temporary administrator? Oh, we had this question, so we'll get an answer for you as soon as possible. Where do we find a list of job categories this applies to for the education? So if you're referring to high demand jobs, I don't know that based on this question, but that's the way I'm going to answer it. So high demand jobs lists are in a couple places. Future Ready Iowa has lists of high demand jobs. And then also there are lists in our LMI, our labor market information section of the IWD website. There are regional lists. There are, I think also on the Future Ready Iowa, we have the top jobs, the top 25 that had the most openings. So there's multiple places to get information as to whether it's a high demand job. And I would just say, reach out to myself, I think, or Allison, and we can help point you to those resources.
We can make sure that that gets listed here on this option of website links. If that's
Okay.
something that would be helpful, I can get that posted this afternoon.
Okay, perfect. The other thing though I want to let people know is to be defined as a high demand job in this type of application, it does not have to be on that list. That list is for a certain purpose. Other lists are for certain purposes. So what you need to do though is collect some sort of data that helps demonstrate that this is a high demand job in your area. So, so we'll put links on there, but if you have further questions, I think reach out because that's the only way I know how to do it. Okay, where are we? Sorry. Okay, I think that, yep. Okay, I need to see examples of the plan written. I have a small cleaning business starting a janitorial. Is there anyone that can help me with that plan? I need to think about that. We'll post it. We'll post something, okay? What are the requirements to prove we hired or are providing this to a coronavirus affected person for our new hire? You have to certify in your application and then in your MOU that you are doing as the grant requires. To my knowledge, we aren't going to go out looking for you to provide that documentation. You are in the MOU, you are agreeing to do that. So if something else changes, I'll let you know, but I don't really believe there's a way we could, you know, come out everywhere. That would be very labor intensive. So you're the one. So if it comes back, if we get an audit back and we have to show something, it's going to come back to you because you will have signed the MOU that says that you're doing that. Could this be used as an earn and learn model for re-entering citizens from prison? Again, I think that it has to be linked to the coronavirus. Those are the requirements. So if they are in those potential things that are linked to employment in regard to coronavirus, then yes, I believe so. Oh, did I miss one? For trainees with no transport, are we able to use the the grant to assist in getting them to us. Yes, that would be a wraparound support. Is there a minimum amount you can request? Actually, we put in there $10,000. I'm not sure that there's a reason around 10,000. I mean, I think if you have a project you want to request and the cost is less than that, I wouldn't discourage you from applying.
And that's it.
Okay, awesome. Great questions. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, everyone. So I think I just saw a question about, can I purchase a vehicle to transport if it's a transportation? I'm going to have to check on that. I think there are instances, but I'm not always sure what those are. So let me check on that one. But again, thank you, everybody. This, I appreciate your interest and your work that you're putting into this. I appreciate your flexibility as things change, just like we had the amendment, and we're trying to all, do the best we can. So just continue to reach out with your questions. We'll get them answered as soon as possible. And I think that then we'll call that a wrap. So everybody, thank you so much and have a great rest of your Wednesday. Thanks, Allison.